I grew up in Chicago, and there's an argument that if you never saw MJ play, you kind of lean towards LeBron, and the stats are there that to support LeBron. But beyond the stats, well, to start with, the game, it was completely different. It was way more physical. It was far lower scoring, and the three ball was not a part of the game the way that it is today. There were a few guys in MJ's era that could shoot the three, but I don't even think that those guys in today's game would be shooting three-pointers consistently with some of like the average three-point shooters that we have. Back then there was Stockton, Legler was a three-point shooter. The Bulls had Steve Kerr, but people forget Steve Kerr was like the 7th or 8th option. He went in to get Ron Harper some rest. The game was very different. It was way more physical. I don't know what LeBron would look like in a game that was physical like that. And the Hall of Famers that Jordan beat along the way to all of those runs, forget the fact that he beat Hall of Famers, because I think LeBron has gone against and beat some Hall of Famers. Those guys were way more physical. Like, I think of some of the battles, like the Bulls and what they did against some of those really intense, physical, bad boy Knicks teams. Beyond the stats and the results on the court, and I like that you dropped the he's never seen a game 7 in the finals. There was this feeling he's going to do it. And LeBron doesn't give you that feeling. Like, you can't describe it unless you lived through it, unless you watched it. Statistically, Wayne Gretzky is in a world of his own. I mean, I think there's a stat out there, like if you took all his goals away, he would still be the points leader. But just in terms of greatness and the feeling and the culture that existed around the game because of Jordan, and he went out there and did it. I mean, he backed up every bit of hype that was out there. And he never lost a finals. And there's an argument that they would have 8-peated had he not farted around in baseball for 2 seasons.
9-peated, because if they came back in 99 in that short season, they probably win that year too. And he even said that in The Last Dance. He came out and said, I was at the prime of my career, and I was a different player. I was not only I had the ability, the athletic ability, I had the brains to really continue being that player that I was.
And there's no doubt that there were injuries that did not make the media that MJ played through. There was no load management. There was no power like LeBron has, moving to teams and setting up big three. I mean, good for LeBron. I mean, he changed the game in terms of player mobility and the options that they actually have. And it's cool to watch. But the load management, I just can't stand it. And as a fan, and now with sports betting everywhere, anytime you are attempting to bet an NBA game, you have to really understand the roster and who's playing and who's not. And I don't even know how many games LeBron has played. Like, he played in the All-Star game, then didn't play the very next regular season game, which actually has meaning in the standings. MJ would never do stuff like that. And there's more to what makes the GOAT than just simply the stats and the championships too.
Michael Jordan also wasn't political. He wouldn't go out there and speak anything but basketball. He didn't want to get in the limelight. And by the way, could you imagine if social media was around when Michael Jordan played? Could you imagine? He would be even bigger of a superstar.
What was his big quote? They buy Nikes too. But that was his focus. He was selling shoes, and he was Gatorade. He was Be Like Mike. I mean, people listened to the song that was created for a commercial because they liked the jam.
I agree with you. I think Michael Jordan changed everything. I mean, basketball sneakers became a style. It wasn't just basketball sneakers. I didn't want to buy Nikes or Jordans just because it was, I was playing basketball. I bought it because it matches. Those sneakers are hot. They match with my shirt. They match with my hat. He changed the style. He changed everything. He became the it factor in fashion and everything.
He did. And if you start to look at other sports and like who those GOATs are, I mean, Tom Brady's the GOAT quarterback. He's definitely not the GOAT football player. I suppose the trendy thing to do is throw Mahomes into the conversation. But you start to look at these GOATs across sports. Like, I think Tiger Woods earlier in his career, there's probably a legit conversation because he became a little bit of a cultural icon. I mean, he brought a group of people that weren't accepted on golf courses to enjoy the game. He brought golf to Nike. But
how about Dale Earnhardt? How about Dale Earnhardt? What he did for NASCAR? I mean, nobody watched. I know NASCAR is so big worldwide. I mean, it's definitely down south. But Dale Earnhardt, when he was in NASCAR before he died, I mean, it was at its all-time high. It was unbelievable how. I mean, Dale Jarrett and him, they would go at it with each other. He was fantastic. He was the face of NASCAR.